Welcome back to Folklore Voyage, where ancient tales come alive. Today we journey to the heart of China, where magic is woven not only into fabric, but into fate itself. This is the story of the magical brocade, a tale of devotion, courage, and the bond between a mother and her son. Prepare to travel through enchanted mountains, icy seas, and a palace touched by the sun. Let the threads of legend guide you. The voyage begins now. Long time ago, in an ancient village in China, there lived an old widow. She lived there with her son named Chen. The widow worked as a weaver, and the cloth she woven was renowned for being very good. Meanwhile, Chen helped his mother earn a living by selling firewood. One day, the widow was seen selling the cloth she woven at the market. Because her woven cloth was very good, it didn't take long for her to sell all her cloth. She then bought some daily necessities for herself and Chen. While walking home, she was suddenly fascinated by a very beautiful painting. The painting seller explained that the painting depicted the Sun Palace, which lies in the east. She eventually bought the painting and took it home. Upon arriving home, she immediately showed the painting to Chen. Chen then suggested to his mother to create a brocade similar to the painting. She agreed with Chen's suggestion and began working on the brocade. Chen sold even more firewood at the market, as his mother was busy working on the brocade. The widow was very diligent and meticulous in working on the brocade. Chen felt very worried seeing his mother so exhausted and told her to take a short rest. Until one day, Chen was shocked to find his mother sitting on the floor, crying. It turned out that his mother was crying tears of joy because she had finally finished the brocade. Chen was amazed by the brocade his mother had made, which looked as if it were alive. Suddenly, the image on the brocade began to move. Suddenly, the wind blew, causing the brocade to float and fly out through the window. Chen and his mother chased after the brocade, which was floating and flying eastward, carried by the wind. They eventually stopped chasing the brocade because they were exhausted, and the brocade slowly floated higher and higher, carried by the wind toward the east. The widow felt very sad because the brocade she had worked so hard to make had flown away and disappeared with the wind. Until one day, the widow fell ill from constantly thinking about the brocade she had lost. Chen then promised his mother that he would find the lost brocade and bring it back home. Chen then prepared the equipment and supplies he would bring on his journey to find the brocade. Once his preparations were complete, Chen set out on his journey to bring back his mother's brocade. Chen walked through the dense forest and crossed several rivers along the way. After walking for several days, Chen arrived at a mysterious cottage on the edge of the forest. Chen approached the mysterious cottage and met an old woman who was sitting in front of it. The old woman asked Chen the purpose of his visit to her cottage. Chen then explained that his purpose was to find the brocade made by his mother, which had been carried away by the wind toward the east. The old woman told Chen that the wind was sent by the fairies who lived in the Sun Palace, and that to reach it, he would have to pass through several routes that was extremely dangerous for an ordinary human like him. Chen then asked about the route the old woman was referring to. The old woman then told Chen that the route included a fiery mountain, a frozen sea, and an enchanted forest inhabited by many evil fairies. Even though the route was difficult, Chen was determined to go to the Sun Palace to bring back his mother's handmade brocade. Seeing the sincerity in Chen's heart, the old woman agreed to help him. The next day, the old woman invited Chen to come with her to a certain place. And it turned out the old woman brought Chen to a stable that housed a magical white horse. The old woman told Chen that she was giving him the horse, and that it would help him get through all the dangerous routes ahead. The old woman also reminded Chen to always be careful and never to pay attention to any temptations he would see upon entering the enchanted forest. After bidding farewell and thanking the old woman, Chen set off toward the Sun Palace, riding the magical white horse. Before long, they arrived at a fiery mountain with a river flowing with fire. Chen then rode the magical white horse swiftly so they could quickly pass through the fiery mountain. Thanks to the power of the magical horse, Chen didn't feel much of the intense heat around him, although his robe was slightly scorched. And in the end, they managed to pass through the fiery mountains safely. And now they arrived in a snowy area, indicating that they were nearing the frozen sea. Sure enough, it didn't take long before they arrived at the frozen sea. Just like when they were at the fiery mountain, Chen rode the magical white horse swiftly, and miraculously, he only felt a slight chill on his body, even as they passed through a snowstorm. In the end, they successfully crossed the frozen sea safely, and so they continued on their journey. Now they entered the enchanted forest, where a deeply mystical atmosphere filled the air. Suddenly, they were attacked by a group of evil fairies, but fortunately, they managed to avoid them. Chen then saw an old woman who looked just like his mother. Chen remembered the warning from the old woman who gave him the magical horse, and he ignored the old woman who looked like his mother. In the end, they successfully made it through the enchanted forest. And after a long journey, the Sun Palace finally came into view in the distance. Chen rode the magical white horse swiftly, eager to reach the Sun Palace as soon as possible. At last, they arrived at the gates of the Sun Palace. Chen quickly dismounted from his horse and entered through the gate without hesitation. As Chen entered the gate, he was mesmerized by the beauty of the garden surrounding the palace. A fairy princess named Li En came to meet him and introduced herself. Li En said that Chen was the first human to ever enter the Sun Palace. Chen then explained that the reason he came was to find and bring back the brocade made by his mother, which had been carried away by the wind all the way to the palace. Li En then invited Chen to go to a certain place. Li En brought Chen to a room filled with fairy maidens who were weaving. In the center of the room, Chen finally found the brocade made by his mother and wanted to take it. Li En begged Chen not to take it yet, because she and the other fairy maidens were using the brocade made by Chen's mother as a reference to create a new brocade as a gift for the Sun King. Li En also apologized to Chen, admitting that she was the one who had sent the wind to carry his mother's brocade to the palace. Chen accepted Li En's apology, and he was then escorted by several fairy maidens to a room to rest. Upon arriving in the room, Chen sat down for a moment and quickly fell asleep from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Li En was seen ordering all the fairy maidens to weave more diligently so that their brocade could be finished quickly. Li En and the other fairy maidens wove late into the night until their brocade was finally completed. The next morning, while Chen was walking in the palace garden, a fairy maiden approached him and told him to go see Princess Li En. Li En told Chen that their brocade was finished, and she returned his mother's brocade to him. Chen then got ready to return home. Li En accompanied him all the way to the palace gate. When he arrived at the palace gate, Chen immediately mounted his magical horse and bid farewell to Li En. On his journey home, Chen rode his magical horse at full speed, swiftly passing through the enchanted forest, the frozen sea, and the fiery mountain. It didn't take long before Chen arrived at his home village. Meanwhile, the widow kept eagerly waiting for Chen to return home with her brocade. Suddenly, she was startled when she heard the sound of horse hooves outside her house. When she stepped outside, Chen was already standing in front of their house. Chen immediately showed the brocade he had brought, and his mother was very happy to see it. Chen also told about his encounter with the fairies at the Sun Palace. Suddenly, the brocade floated and emitted a golden light. Li En suddenly appeared, stepping out from inside the brocade. Li En then introduced herself to Chen's mother, who was captivated by her beauty. Li En then gently handed Chen's mother a roll of golden thread, and to Chen she gave a pouch of shimmering gold coins as a token of gratitude. After giving them the gifts, Li En vanished behind a swirl of golden dust. Chen and his mother felt overjoyed to receive the gifts from Li En. Their lives were forever changed. Chen became a wealthy merchant, and his mother now had many workers helping her with weaving. And that was the story of the Magic Brocade, a tale that teaches us about love and sacrifice, which brings sweet rewards to those who are sincere. Courage and perseverance can open the path to wonders, and true beauty is born from a heart full of sincerity and dedication. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Magic Brocade, here on Folklore Voyage, where timeless tales come to life. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to sail with us through more myths, legends, and forgotten worlds. Until next time, keep your heart open, your mind curious, and your soul ready for the next story.